we've got to talk about Fall of the House of 10, number 2, Fall of the House of My Balls, number 2, Gerry Duggan, Lucas Wernick. The first issue was terrible, and I think they actually outdid themselves this week, Doc. This is insufferable to everybody equally.
It really is. This is bad on a level that it takes effort to achieve. Look, Lucas Wernick is, I didn't mind his stuff on some of the other things he's worked on. They put him into prime time here, and I feel like they did him a massive disservice. He's not ready for doing a massive ensemble book, and he is absolutely not ready to be doing I guess ostensibly an event book.
You know what's crazy? They put this amazing Pepe Larraz cover on it with Polaris and a huge skull. It looks really great. It almost feels like a bait and switch when you open that bad boy up, because this art does not live up to the fucking cover at all.
No, it really does not. And again, I don't want to seem like I'm really just shitting all over Lucas Wernick here, but he's not the guy for this yet. I mean,
exactly. We're not here to shit on Lucas Wernick. We're here to shit on Gerry fucking Duggan, because he's the one that herbed it.
Yes, he did. While the art in this book was bad, the story was even more incomprehensible.
Let's get into this bad boy and talk about some of these details. When we open up, we see it's some type of satellite that's orbiting. It's like a command headquarters for orcas. We've got Stasis in there, and Polaris shows up. They're like, oh my goodness, our shields won't be able to deflect her. And she's coming with reinforcements. In fact, she's coming with Nowhere, the celestial head thing. She's brought that with her to attack the space station, and it starts chomping on it. And then she unleashes the brood on all the people inside of the Orca space station. They start chewing people and eating them, and then she starts interrogating them as they're being tortured and eaten alive. Very heroic stuff to open up this comic book.
When I think of my heroes, I think of them unleashing biological entities that are akin to xenomorphs that kill indiscriminately. That's exactly what I want my superheroes to be doing. They're the X-Men. They're not the fucking Authority. And she even brags about the fact that she could have smashed the shit out of the station, but no, she had to make a big spectacle of it. And she also didn't want any of the quote-unquote fascists on board to be able to escape.
She calls herself the new master of magnetism. Shouldn't she be the mistress of magnetism?
Yes, because that's how the English language works, but not how activism works.
Yeah, but it's just as stupid as when that Canadian guy corrected that lady from humankind to peoplekind. It's like, no, you just don't know language. You're an idiot.
Exactly.
Well, even Magneto himself has more self-restraint than Polaris, so if she wanted to go pure evil and live up to his legacy, I guess she finally did it here. She's not the only one attacking the space station. We have Colossus dressed up as one of the Orcus, soldiers in all red. They've got Wolverine, which doesn't make sense because he's actually in Antarctica fighting Sabretooth at the time. They've even tied that into this event, but whatever. It turns out they've also got Nightcrawler on board with them, and they're going to attack the thing. And they let Polaris know that Firestar is actually on our team. She's a double agent. And we got to see a moment that it hurt my heart to see this. When Nightcrawler grabbed the human being, bamped him into the coldest space, and left him out there to die and freeze and just die in horrific ways.
It's Gerry Duggan. He's the guy that wrote X-Men Green and didn't think that was a villain origin story. It hurts my heart to see Kurt used that way as well. But that's what I expect out of Gerry.
Apparently, yeah, just used the heroes as murderers. The most insufferable part about this particular moment in the comic book actually isn't turning in Nightcrawler into a murderer. That did hurt my heart. But what actually really hurt my feelings was the stupid, hey, Bob, you're really big, Bob. Actually call me Bub joke when it's revealed that it was Colossus the whole time. And it's one of the lamest lines of comedic dialogue you'll ever see in a comic book. Please, Gerry Duggan, if you want to include jokes in your comic book, give Brian Posehn some money and let him come in and help you.
You have no comedic timing, dude. I am not a funny person, but I am funnier than you.
Gerry Duggan has never been funny a day in his life. That does not work out there. Well, we do get more bad jokes. But in the meantime, I don't think this was supposed to be funny, but it looked funny. It turns out you can just net Krakoa. And they just netted the island. How fucking stupid is this?
Yeah, I was looking at that going, what the fuck are you people doing? he can just go and make himself another island. What is the logic here? How is this supposed to, no. That is not how it works.
My fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
You know what? You make Ron Johnson look smart, Gerry. And that's a guy that thought an island could tip over.
The Juggernaut is sent in to save Krakoa. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but whatever. But he's also brought a gun from Cable. He's got some enormous sentinels here. Of course, he just wipes them out. It's almost like when you're in a story like this, you're supposed to see the X-Men brought down to the lowest point and then overcome Orcus. But really, Orcus are being brought down to their lowest point to overcome the X-Men because they're just annihilating them like a knife through fucking butter.
Yeah, that's the problem with this entire era of X-Men. When you turn X-Men into a queer allegory, which is all they've done for this entire era of X-Men, and you've done it as a political statement, you then can't actually have them struggle in any way. Even when you're trying to write a story where they're supposed to be struggling and, brought to their lowest, you can't actually do it because your politics won't let you. You go back and forth in this pattern of slaughtering the bad guys and then somehow trying to claim that they're struggling, then slaughter the bad guys some more, and then claim that there's a struggle. Slaughter the bad guys, claim there's a struggle.
They also like to emasculate everybody, any male people that they come in contact with. They continuously emasculate them as if that's heroic. Normally, that's an attitude or an action that's associated with the bad guy, unless it's supposed to be a comedy. And I don't think this is supposed to be a comedy. So we see Emma Frost with 2 Orcus agents on dog collars, making them be her puppies as she walks them around the city, before this giant sentinel comes up. And this part really confuses me, Doc. So It's a Stark sentinel. It is absolutely enormous compared to Emma Frost, who has no real physical powers. She stands up to a Stark Sentinel that's the size of 2 or 3 buildings. That is a literal fucking robot. It punches her in the face. She's not a diamond when it happens, so she's not even using her protective armor for it, and she just takes it.
This isn't even an attempt at writing these characters in a way that actually creates some stakes. It is puffery on the part of the writer, trying to just make them perfect in all ways at all times. It obviously violates all laws of continuity, even from issue to issue, and they just don't seem to care.
Yeah, why should we take the Stark Sentinels seriously as this big threat to mutants? They couldn't beat up a girl that doesn't really have physical powers.
They didn't even really try to figure out a way to make this canonically work. They're just like, fuck it. Now she's just gonna not be injured by this giant building-sized robot smashing the shit out of her.
If you want to see somebody struggling, you gotta see Gerry Duggan trying to wrap up plot elements that haven't been talked about or even mentioned for like a year. We get Gambit and Rogue. They've got to go to the old X-Men mansion that's overgrown and all this stuff because apparently they've hidden Manifold. They put him in stasis and they've put him into a no place because he's the key to the X-Men surviving this big conflict with Orcus. They let him out. He gets mad at them, tries to kill them. I think he hits Rogue. Half of her face falls off. I was like, oh, so that wasn't Rogue the whole time? It's another character called Letitia. And then you see Gambit and Rogue watching. And I was like, so were there 2 Rogues the whole time?
I think that they're trying to show that it was in his mind. And that
you got to use art and color to differentiate what's in his mind and what's in the real world.
Absolutely 100%. That's basic storytelling 101. They failed miserably at it. There's no real explanation for why this chick is not actually there.
At first I thought she was Destiny.
At first I thought it was too.
She's supposed to be Manifold's older sister, I guess.
Yeah, I guess this is Manifold's sister or somehow sister entity, because I thought Manifold was like the nephew or grandson of Gateway. Half of Rogue's face comes off and then a gold mask is there that looks like Destiny or like Madame Mask. And then that gets taken off and there's just space.
Gerry Duggan trying to pay off cliffhangers or story elements is probably the funniest thing about this comic book. It's more funny, certainly, than the jokes that he tries to tell. And then in the end, this part made absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's supposed to be a big moment, but I just rolled my fucking eyes. Omega Sentinel is going to execute Cyclops. She's like, this was stupid. I don't know why we had this trial. I told them not to. You stupid humans always want to have your show trial or whatever. I'm going to put you out of your misery. She goes to chop his head off. Dr. Gregor shows up and stops him. And she's like, that stuff that you said to me, it really hit me in the feel spots. And now I think I'm on your side.
What the fuck? Like, what in the actual fuck at this point? I'm done trying to even consider how any of this shit is supposed to make sense, because they can't even figure out who the good guy and who the bad guy are. He literally said like 3 of the most bland, not really life-changing sentences in history, except for the fact that, yeah, we think this is all really dumb and we think you're racist. Oh, yeah, apparently that's what changed Gregor's mind.
It shook her.
To the point where she needed to now switch sides?
This is the fucking higher power in WWF all over again. It was me the whole time, Austin. Even though I tried to sacrifice my own daughter and I tried to kill myself, it was really me the whole time. I was like, can you make anything in this fucking story make sense?
No, you can't. And honestly, it doesn't even feel like they're trying. It doesn't.
It's a swerve for swerve state.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. That is the perfect analogy for this. It is a swerve for the sake of the swerve.
It only takes 1 or 2 lines of dialogue where Omega Sentinel and Stasis and all the bad guys are together plotting all the terrible things they're going to be to the X-Men. And Gregor says, do you think we're going too far? I'm starting to feel like maybe we're the bad guys in this. And they're like, are you out of your mind? They did this to your husband. She's like, oh, yeah, you're right. Now you have a seed of doubt, like, oh, she's considering alternate things, or even a thought bubble like, wow, I never thought we were going to go this far.
That's legitimately all they needed. It's all they ever needed in order for like some betrayal swerve to logically fit into the storyline.
Yeah, what did you think about the final reveal of Nimrod breaking out of the loogie and going to Sentinel City?
Yes, the Sentinel City that we have heard nothing about at all for all of the years of this era of X-Men. Is it going to be fucking Master Mold down there or something? I don't.
Stark Sentinel. I'm assuming that Stark made it.
Yeah, it's a Stark Master Mold.
This comic book just sucks. I'll give it like a 1.5 out of 5. Am I being too nice? Giving it a 3 out of 10, something like that.
Honestly, I think you are being too nice, because while Lucas Wernick doesn't deserve the blame for this book, he also should have been, I don't know, more cognizant of his own limitations and not taken the gig, because the art's not even good to redeem this book. That's the problem. I can't even give it 2 stars because I can't even give it 1 out of 10 because there's nothing redeeming in this book. It's incomprehensible gibberish masquerading itself as a story that they don't even make any even placid attempts to logically make sense. So fuck this comic. 0 stars.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Yeah, and hopefully Gerry Duggan never comes back to X-Men. That's what he deserves after delivering something this bad. And everything he's done basically at X-Men has not been very good. Even the stuff that had promised, he absolutely dropped the ball. But we are done here, Doc, with the review. But if you're watching on the YouTubes, you're getting about a 12 to 14 minute edit of the review. But Doc gives at least another 10 minutes worth of information and his thoughts on this comic book, because YouTube cannot contain him. We got to do it unfiltered on the old Patreons.
If you want to hear exactly my thoughts on how bad this comic was, you got to come over to the Patreon.